Hannah Price was exactly 12 seconds away from doing the most ridiculously brave thing she had ever done in her entire life. The grand ballroom of the Lux Hotel sparkled as if someone had exploded a jewelry store inside a Tesla showroom. Crystal chandeliers the size of small cars hung from the ceiling. The Italian marble under her feet probably cost more than her entire college education, which, by the way, she was still paying for, and would keep paying until she turned 70 if the interest rate stayed at that apocalyptic level. She wasn't supposed to be here. The navy blue dress she was wearing was borrowed from Maya, the front desk clerk who felt sorry for her. The Macy's tag was still half loose on the inside seam, poking her left rib like a constant reminder. You're a fraud. You're an imposter. You're going to get caught. The badge hanging around her neck? Fake. Well, technically borrowed without express written permission, but any lawyer would still call it forgery. And to complete the disaster combo, the dress had a serious structural issue. The side seam was giving way. Hannah could feel the fabric slowly splitting with each breath. In about 15 minutes, she wouldn't just be kicked out of the event, she'd be laughed out of it. But none of that mattered now, because Tyler Morgan, her ex-boyfriend, ex-love of her life, ex-person who promised to love her forever but lasted 8 months, was walking straight toward her across the ballroom, and he wasn't alone. Savannah Stone was hanging on his arm like a living Hermes handbag. Perfect blonde hair, Versace dress, a real one, not the Shein knockoffs Hannah used to buy, and jewelry that probably had its own insurance policy. She was everything. Hannah wasn't rich, confident, and with a bank account that didn't cry every time rent was due. Tyler smiled. That smile. The same smile he used when he broke up with her by text. Yes, text. 3 weeks before getting engaged to Savannah. Hannah, you're amazing, but you don't have ambition. I need someone who's on my level. You know, level as if relationships were a video game and she'd been stuck in the tutorial. Now he was 30 feet away. 26. 20. Savannah was already smiling, that smile people give when they're about to be kind to someone less fortunate. Hannah felt panic rise in her throat, like acid reflux after cheap pizza at 3 a.m. Option A. Fake a faint. No, too dramatic. And she'd probably hit her head on the Italian marble and wake up with a $50,000 hospital bill. Option B. Run to the bathroom. Too cowardly. And Savannah would definitely tell everyone, poor Hannah had to run away because she can't stand seeing me happy. Option C. Summon an earthquake. Sadly, not a power she had yet. Option D. That's when she saw him. In the most secluded corner of the ballroom, leaning against the wall like a Greek sculpture someone forgot to catalog, stood a man. Tall. Very tall. The kind of tall that made you wonder if he played basketball or modeled on runways. A dark gray custom suit that probably cost more than her car, which she had sold 3 months ago to pay her mom's medical bills, but that's another depressing story. Dark hair slicked perfectly back. A jawline that looked like Michelangelo had carved it on an inspired day. And that posture, straight, confident, untouchable, like the CEO of some company no one ever hears about because only multi-billionaires have access to it. But the best part? He was alone. 2 men in black suits stood near him at a respectful distance, like Buckingham Palace guards, but American and probably trained in some ultra-secret martial arts. He held a glass of red wine, watching the room with an expression so deeply bored that Hannah almost felt sorry for him. Perfect. Tyler was 12 feet away. 9. Savannah opened her mouth, about to say something that would definitely start with Hannah, sweetie, in that condescending tone that made Hannah want to hit something. Hannah didn't think. She didn't calculate. She didn't make a list of pros and cons. She just acted. She crossed the ballroom like she was on a divine mission, which, technically, she was. The mission to not die of embarrassment right then and there. The heels also borrowed, 2 sizes too big, with band-aids on the backs to prevent blisters, clicked on the Italian marble. Click, 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 click. The sound echoed. Some heads turned. The mysterious man's bodyguards noticed first. Both stepped forward at the same time, hands going to their earpieces, posture shifting from decorative statue to neutralize immediate threat. Hannah completely ignored them. She walked straight between them, which, in hindsight, was incredibly stupid and could have ended with her thrown to the floor, reached out, and grabbed the stranger's arm. "Babe, you made it. I thought you'd miss the entrance." The entire ballroom froze. The kind of cinematic freeze where even the dust particles stopped floating in the air. 300 pairs of eyes, investors, CEOs, socialites, waiters holding trays of salmon canapes worth more than minimum wage, turned to her. The man, the stranger she had just turned into her fake boyfriend, without asking for permission, consent, or even knowing his name, stopped breathing for a second. He stared at her. Steel gray eyes, cold, analytical, breaking down every detail. The borrowed dress, the questionable badge, the barely hidden desperation on her face. 3 seconds. Hannah felt a cold drop of sweat slide down the back of her neck. 4 seconds. The guard stepped forward, ready to drag her away. 5 seconds. Hannah thought, "That's it. I'm done. I'm going to get arrested. I'll become a meme. I'll be kicked out of the event, the company, maybe even the country." Then he did something completely unexpected. He raised his hand, a small, almost invisible gesture, the kind kings do in period films. The guard stepped back immediately, as if pulled by invisible strings. The man tilted his head slightly, a faint smile touching the corner of his mouth, and then, in a deep, controlled voice that echoed through the silent ballroom like distant thunder, he said, "Yes, sweetheart. Sorry I'm late." And then, by all the patron saints of the desperate and compulsive liars, he slid his arm around her waist. Firm, warm, possessive, like they did it every day, like it was the most natural thing in the world. Hannah's brain completely short-circuited. What is happening? The ballroom exploded in whispers. Who is she? How did she pull this off? That's Gabriel Lawson. Gabriel Lawson has a girlfriend. Tyler Morgan, 3 feet away, turned pale as if he had seen a ghost. Savannah Stone tried to smile, but it looked more like she had swallowed a whole lemon. And Hannah Price, software engineer, demoted to the basement, stolen algorithm creator, humiliated ex-girlfriend, was being held by the waist by the most powerful man in the room. And she didn't even know his name. Technically, now she did. Gabriel Lawson. But that didn't help, because she had absolutely no idea who Gabriel Lawson was. Businessman? Investor? Well-dressed mob boss? Gabriel leaned in, lips close to her ear, voice low enough for only her to hear. "You have 30 seconds to tell me why I shouldn't have my security remove you from here." Hannah froze, then whispered back, desperate, "My ex is over there with his rich fiancée. They were coming to humiliate me. I just needed a way out. Please, just until they leave. I'm begging you." Gabriel studied her for another second. Then, surprisingly, the faint smile grew, just a little. "Interesting. And what do I get out of this?" Hannah improvised, panicked. "The satisfaction of ruining the night of horrible people." He chuckled, not loud, just a quiet, amused breath, barely audible. "Fair enough." And he kept holding her like she really was his girlfriend. 3 days earlier, the basement of Tech Vibe Solutions smelled like mold, old paper, and abandoned dreams. Hannah Price sat in an office chair that creaked with every move, probably from the Clinton era, maybe even Bush Sr., surrounded by boxes of dead files and Ethernet cables coiled like lazy snakes. The only light came from a flickering fluorescent bulb, as if it too was depressed about being stuck down there. "So, Professor," Hannah said to the gray rat sitting on a box labeled Taxes 2019, "Do not open. What do you think of my presentation on hash optimization?" The rat, which she had named Professor 3 weeks ago after realizing he showed up religiously every afternoon at 3 p.m., chewed on a piece of granola bar she had left as a bribe. Eloquent silence. I appreciate that in a colleague. She spun the chair toward the prehistoric Dell laptop the company had so generously provided. The screen displayed line after line of code. Her code. Her algorithm. Her work over the past 8 months. The machine learning algorithm that could revolutionize behavioral data analysis. That reduced processing time by 67%. That had the potential to be worth millions. And that Andrew Carter, her direct boss and technology director, was about to present as if it were his. Again. The clock read 2:47 p.m. The general meeting would start in 13 minutes. Hannah sighed, saved the file for the 10th time justified paranoia, and looked at Professor. You know what's funny? Well, not funny, haha. More like funny tragic. Andrew doesn't even know how to code. He copies and pastes from Stack Overflow and still messes up the indentation. Professor seemed to find that appropriately outrageous, and dropped a piece of granola on the floor. Exactly. Thanks for the emotional support. You're literally the only one in this company who treats me like a human being. Hannah grabbed her mug, world's okayest engineer, a Christmas gift from Maya, and took the last sip of cold coffee. Bitter, like her professional life. She could have reported Andrew again. She had tried 6 months earlier when he presented the first version of the algorithm, also hers, to investors. She had set up a meeting with HR, brought proof, emails, drafts with dates and times. Andrew struck back, saying Hannah was emotionally unstable, confused about hierarchy, and possibly experiencing authorship delusions. HR believed him, of course. He wore a Hugo Boss suit and spoke confidently about disruptive synergy. Hannah wore a college hoodie and avoided eye contact. The result: demotion from the 3rd floor to the basement. From senior software engineer to technical support specialist. Translation: do what you're told and nothing more. Salary cut by 30%. Still, she stayed. Because she needed the money. Because her mom, unwell for the past 9 months, needed treatment that generic insurance refused to fully cover. Chemotherapy, radiation, experimental drugs that cost more than a new car. Hannah was paying every penny, every bill, with apocalyptic credit card interest. She couldn't afford to be unemployed. So she swallowed her pride, went down to the basement, and kept working. Quietly. Invisibly. Her phone buzzed. Message from Maya. Meeting starting. Andrew's got that smile again, like he's about to steal credit. Are you coming to watch or staying down there chatting with rodents? Hannah typed back, Professor is great company. Doesn't interrupt me or steal my work. Fair, but seriously. Come watch. At least to laugh at his face when he lies. Hannah sighed. Technically, she wasn't required to go. No one from the basement ever did. But something inside her, something unwilling to give in, completely wanted to see. Wanted to watch Andrew steal her work live, in high definition, in front of the entire company. Maybe because she needed to remind herself why she felt so defeated. Or maybe because, deep down, she still had a tiny thread of hope that someone would notice the fraud. Spoiler: no one will, her rational mind whispered. But she went anyway. The 3rd floor auditorium was packed. At least 80 employees squeezed into uncomfortable chairs, pretending to pay attention while secretly checking their phones. Hannah slipped into the back row behind a tall colleague who blocked her view. Perfect. Invisible mode on. On the small stage, Andrew Carter adjusted the microphone. Navy suit, red tie, too much hair gel. Smile like a late-night commercial host. Good afternoon, team. He opened his arms as if welcoming everyone into his home. Today is a historic day for Tech Vibe Solutions. Hannah rolled her eyes so hard she almost saw her own brain. After months of hard work, sleepless nights, sacrificed weekends, lots of coffee, he chuckled at his own hilarious comment. We finally completed the behavioral predictive analysis algorithm. Completed. Singular. First person. I. Hannah felt her blood boil. Andrew clicked the remote. The PowerPoint presentation appeared on the screen, the one she had created 3 weeks earlier and sent to him for review. This algorithm, Andrew continued, pointing at the colorful charts, uses deep neural networks to identify user behavior patterns, cutting processing time by an incredible 67%. Polite applause. Hannah recognized every slide, every word, every comma. He even used the same joke she had written on slide 7. Big data doesn't have to be a big headache. The audience laughed. Andrew soaked in the laughter like a seasoned comedian. And best of all, he said, his smile growing wider, we already have investors interested. We're talking millions in funding, maybe even a future acquisition. More applause. This time genuine. Hannah felt something strange in her chest, a mix of anger, desperation, and hysterical laughter. She laughed softly, a laugh of disbelief. Unreal. The coworker in front of her turned around, confused. Hannah swallowed the laugh and pretended to cough. Andrew wrapped it up. Thank you to the team who supported me through this journey. Together, we're unstoppable. Team. Hannah wasn't even mentioned. Of course not. She was in the basement. Technical assistant. Nobody. Invisible. The meeting ended. Employees congratulated Andrew, handshakes, pats on the back. Hannah walked out through the side door, went down the stairs, and returned to the basement. Professor was still there, now sleeping on top of the box. She sat down, opened her laptop, and looked at the code on the screen. Her code. Her creation. Stolen again. And she couldn't do anything, because she needed the paycheck, because she needed her mom to stay alive. So Hannah did what she always did, swallowed the injustice and kept working. But this time, something felt different. She saw the digital invitation in her inbox, the app's launch gala at the Lux Hotel. Black tie. Executives and investors only. She wasn't invited, of course. But she looked at the screen, at the algorithm, at the work Andrew was about to turn into millions, and she thought, I built this. I deserve to be there even if no one knows it. So she opened her calendar and made a mental note. Friday, 7 p.m. Maybe it was time to stop being invisible, even if it was just for one night. Maya Santos had two remarkable talents: getting free coffee at any Starbucks in town and faking corporate badges without leaving a trace. Done, Maya said, handing her a laminated badge with a photo of someone named Jennifer Morrison, external consultant. You're Jennifer now. Congratulations on the promotion. Hannah held the badge like it might explode. This is a crime, right? Like a real crime. Federal prison kind of crime. Technically, yes. Realistically, only if you get caught, Maya shrugged. And you won't. There are 300 people at this event. You'll just be another well-dressed party crasher. I'm not well-dressed. I'm wearing your dress. That's 2 sizes too small and already coming apart. Maya looked at the navy blue dress Hannah had borrowed last minute from her closet. The side seams were clearly hanging on for dear life. Okay, true. But under low lighting, no one will notice. Just don't breathe too deep. Great tip. I'll hold my breath all night. Exactly. See? You're already thinking like a professional infiltrator. Hannah hung the badge around her neck and looked into the reception bathroom mirror. Hair pulled back in a bun that almost looked intentional. Minimal makeup because that's all she knew how to do. Borrowed heels, 2 sizes too big, with band-aids carefully placed on the heels to avoid blisters. I look like an intern pretending to be a grown-up. Perfect. Half the external consultants have exactly that vibe. Maya adjusted the badge. Now go watch Andrew soak up all the praise he doesn't deserve. Come back and we'll order pizza while you tell me every dramatic detail. Hannah took a deep breath. Mistake. The seam groaned. If I get arrested, will you visit me? Every week. I'll bring cookies. Thanks. You're a terrible but loyal friend. It's on my resume. The Lux Hotel Grand Ballroom looked exactly like the kind of place Hannah had only seen in movies. Huge chandeliers, Italian marble, waiters walking around with trays of appetizers that probably cost more than her electric bill. Hannah entered through the side door. Maya's tactical tip: never go through the front. Security pays attention there. Side doors are always better. She showed the fake badge to the bored security guard at the side door. He barely looked before nodding her in. It worked. I'm officially a criminal now. The room was packed. Executives in suits, women in evening gowns, conversations about market disruption and exponential ROI. Hannah immediately felt like a fish out of water, a fish in a tight dress with a fake badge. She walked toward the back of the room, trying to look confident, until the oversized heel twisted on the red carpet. Hannah stumbled, arms flailing like a bird trying to take flight, and almost fell flat on her face. 3 people looked her way. She recovered miraculously, bent down, and touched the red carpet as if she were evaluating it. Interesting material, she murmured to no one in particular. Definitely synthetic fiber. I'll add that to the technical report. The people looked away, uninterested. Hannah stood up and practically ran behind a marble column, her heart pounding like a heavy metal drum solo. Great, Hannah. First minute, and you almost exposed yourself as a clumsy party crasher. She took a deep breath. The scene groaned again, a constant threat. From her hiding spot behind the column, she watched the ballroom. Up ahead, on a small improvised stage with a microphone, there he was, Andrew Carter, impeccable gray suit, smiling and gesturing energetically as he spoke with a group of investors, men with gray hair and Rolex watches. Hannah couldn't quite hear what he was saying, but she could see the investors nodding, clearly impressed. One of them patted Andrew on the shoulder, laughing at something he said. Hannah felt her stomach turn. Then the microphone came on. "Good evening, ladies and gentlemen," Andrew began, his voice echoing through the entire hall. "Thank you for being here tonight to celebrate the official launch of Sync Pulse Analytics." Polite applause. Hannah recognized the name. Her original name for the project had been Pulse Sync. Andrew had just flipped it because it sounded more professional. "This algorithm," Andrew continued, pointing at the slides behind him, "represents months of dedicated work, sleepless nights, and the passion of a united, committed team." Team. Hannah looked around. She saw a few co-workers from the 3rd floor, analysts, product managers drinking champagne and waving. None from the basement. None were her. Sync Pulse uses deep neural networks and distributed processing to identify complex behavioral patterns. Hannah recognized every word, every line. It was like hearing someone tell her life story, just with the names changed. "I created this," she thought, her hands clenching into fists. Me. Alone in the basement with a rat as my only audience. For 1 second, a sharp, intense second, she thought about walking up there, grabbing the microphone, shouting, "I made this!" Not him. Me. Exposing everything. But then she looked around at the investors, at the executives, at Andrew, confident, smooth, respected, and at herself. An outsider in a borrowed dress that was about to rip, wearing a fake badge. Who would they believe? The respected CTO or the demoted basement engineer who had snuck into the event? Coward, she whispered to herself. The word hurt more than it should. Andrew ended his speech to more applause. Investors surrounded him, handshakes, wide smiles. Hannah turned to leave. Maybe this had been a mistake. Maybe she should just go home, back to the basement, back to safe invisibility. That's when she saw it. Perfectly styled blonde hair, a blue suit that screamed, "I make 6 figures a year," a too confident smile. Tyler Morgan, her ex-boyfriend, crossing the ballroom, and hanging on his arm in a red Versace dress and jewelry that sparkled like warning signs, Savannah Stone heading straight toward her. Tyler Morgan moved through the gala like he owned the place. Broad shoulders, confident grin, navy blue suit, probably worth more than 3 months of Hannah's rent. and hanging on his arm like a living product accessory, Savannah Stone. Blonde hair in perfect waves that defied both gravity and humidity. A red Versace dress that screamed, "My trust fund has a trust fund." A diamond necklace, shining like a lighthouse in the fog. Hannah considered her escape options. Option A, dive under the canapé table. No, too desperate, and probably waiters under there. Option B, fake a heart attack. Too dramatic, and she couldn't act. Option C, literally dig a hole through the Italian marble floor with her nails. Tempting, but physically impossible. Option D, Hannah. Too late. Tyler stopped exactly 2 meters from her, one eyebrow raised in fake surprise, as if he hadn't seen her already, as if it were a coincidence he was standing right in front of the column she was hiding behind. Tyler. Hannah forced a smile that probably looked more like stomach pain. What a surprise. Truly surprising. Savannah stepped forward, her voice high and sharp like an irritating wind chime. She looked Hannah up and down with the subtlety of an airport scanner. "Hannah! Oh my gosh! You're here. Are you working the catering or are you part of the cleaning crew?" 2 people nearby laughed softly. The polite kind of laugh rich people give when someone makes a rude joke in public. Hannah felt her face burn. "Actually, I work at the company launching the app." "Oh, right." Tyler tilted his head, his smile widening. He used that tone, the exact condescending one he used when explaining obvious things to her during their relationship. "Hannah works at the company." "Down in the basement, right, Han?" Han. The nickname, the same one he used to whisper during sweet, private moments now turned into a blade against her chest. "Basement." Savannah laughed way too loud, clutching Tyler's arm like he was her Super Bowl trophy. "That's so specific." Hannah gripped the champagne glass she had grabbed from a tray 5 minutes ago and still hadn't taken a sip of so tightly she was afraid she might break the crystal. "Yeah, specific. Like my job, technical support specialist." "How cute." Savannah tilted her head like a dog trying to understand a complicated command. "Like you fix printers?" Tyler laughed. "Something like that." "Actually," Hannah said, her voice sharper than she intended, "I develop machine learning algorithms. But yes, I fix printers too. I'm versatile." Savannah blinked, clearly not understanding half the words. "That's so high-tech." More quiet laughter around them. Hannah noticed they were drawing a small audience, now 3, 4 people paying attention, waiting for the next round of public humiliation. Tyler stepped closer, way too close, deliberately invading her personal space. "So, Han, did you come alone, or did you bring someone?" The question had layers. "Are you still alone? Are you still the same unambitious girl I left? Haven't you moved on?" Hannah swallowed. "I came to work. Professional networking." Of course, of course." Tyler nodded like a teacher pretending to believe a bad excuse. "Makes sense." Savannah leaned in, her voice low but loud enough for the mini crowd to hear. "Tyler told me you two dated." "That's so sweet." "A college thing, right?" "College thing. They broke up 6 months ago." Hannah was 27. It wasn't a college thing. It was 2 adults building something real until one of them decided to trade her for an heiress. But Savannah said it like Hannah was some high school crush Tyler got over once he discovered cars and beer. "Yeah," Tyler agreed, looking at Hannah with something between pity and amusement. "It was a phase. A phase. 8 months. Meeting each other's families. Talking about the future. Planning a trip to Seattle that never happened. All reduced to phase." Hannah took a deep breath. The dress scene groaned, a constant threat of structural disaster. "Well," she said, trying to sound casual, "phases end. Like yogurt expiration dates." Tyler frowned. "Did you just compare our relationship to yogurt?" "Yes. Both were good at first, but went sour and had to be thrown out." Savannah let out a sharp laugh. "She's funny, Tyler." "You didn't tell me she was funny." "Yeah, hilarious." Tyler wasn't laughing. Hannah took the opening. But congratulations on the engagement. I heard it happened really fast, like light speed fast. 3 weeks after you broke up with me. Savannah stopped laughing. Tyler adjusted his tie. Hannah, it wasn't like, no hard feelings. Hannah raised the glass in a fake toast. Honestly, I hope you two are very happy. You found someone on your level. She used his word, the same word he had thrown at her in a text when he ended things. I need someone on my level. Tyler got it. His jaw tightened. Exactly, Savannah said, completely missing the irony. Tyler deserves someone who understands him. Someone with ambition. Ambition. Tyler's second favorite word. Hannah felt something burning in her chest, not anger. Worse. It was public humiliation mixed with a pathetic desire to prove she was worth something. Ambition, Hannah repeated, her voice steady. Of course. Like working underground, building technology worth millions while other people take the credit. So unambitious. Tyler shrugged. But no one knows it was you, right? So technically, it doesn't count. The words hit like a punch to the stomach. No one knows. It doesn't count. Savannah glanced at her diamond-covered Apple Watch. Honey, shall we? I want to meet that investor from Dubai you mentioned. Of course, baby. Tyler kissed her forehead, a possessive, performative gesture. Then he looked at Hannah one last time. It was good seeing you, hon. Take care, okay? The tone was almost kind. Almost. But underneath it was that final layer of condescension. Poor thing. Still fighting alone while I climb higher. They walked away. Savannah laughing at something Tyler whispered in her ear. Hannah stayed where she was, alone behind the marble column. The small audience scattered, going back to their conversations about ROI and disruption, and Hannah held the champagne glass, took a deep breath. The seam of the dress groaned loudly this time, and tried not to fall apart in public. No one knows it was you, so it doesn't count. The words echoed. Maybe Tyler was right. Maybe she was invisible. That's when she saw him again in the farthest corner of the room, leaning against the wall like someone serving a social sentence. Tall, dark gray tailored suit, impeccable posture, an expression of quiet existential boredom. 2 men in black suits stood nearby, discreet but alert. The man held a glass of red wine, staring into the distance as if calculating how much longer he had to stay. Hannah didn't know who he was, but she knew one thing. He looked important, and she had the worst or best idea of her life. The man in the corner looked as interested in the event as Hannah was in hearing Tyler talk about market synergy for another 5 minutes. He refused champagne for the 3rd time. A woman in a red dress tried to start a conversation. He answered with single words until she gave up, defeated. Perfect, Hannah thought. Someone who hates being here as much as I do. Then she heard Savannah's voice loud enough to be intentional. Obviously she came alone. Poor thing. Tyler laughed. Han was always kind of a loner. 3 people looked at Hannah with pity, and something inside her just cracked. Not the collapse on the floor kind. The I'm already at rock bottom, so bring on the bulldozer kind. Hannah crossed the ballroom heels, clicking on the marble. Seams of the dress protesting walked right past the man's security and grabbed his arm. Babe, you made it. I thought you'd miss the entrance. We already know what happened next. The ballroom froze. Security moved forward. He raised his hand and they stepped back. He slid his arm around her waist and said, Yes, sweetheart. Sorry I'm late. The room exploded in whispers. Tyler turned pale. Savannah's jaw dropped, and Hannah was being held by the waist of a complete stranger who had just saved or ruined her social life. He leaned in, voice low. 30 seconds. Explain, Hannah whispered, desperate. My ex over there with his rich fiancé. They were humiliating me. I just needed a way out. Please. Silence. He studied her. Then, surprisingly, he smiled a micro smile. Dangerous. Interesting. He took her hand officially, like a boyfriend would, and started walking through the ballroom, leading her along. Hannah stumbled slightly. He adjusted his pace, steadying her. "Walk like you belong here," he murmured. "Confidence is half the performance, and the other half not falling on your face." Hannah almost laughed. Almost? They walked past Tyler and Savannah, both frozen, watching the scene like people watching a shooting star in slow motion. The man gave Tyler a small nod, polite, cold, dominant. Tyler tried to smile back. It looked more like a facial spasm. Once they were far enough away, Hannah whispered, "Thank you. Really. I know it was insane, but it was." He interrupted, still walking. "It was also brave. Or stupid. Sometimes it's hard to tell the difference. I vote stupid. I vote both." They stopped near a huge window overlooking the city. He let go of her hand but didn't step away. "Your ex," he said, voice neutral. "What did he do?" Hannah hadn't expected the question. "He said I had no ambition. Broke up over text. 3 weeks later he was engaged to her." She nodded subtly toward Savannah, spinning gracefully in Tyler's arms. The man looked out the window, processing. Idiot. The word came out so natural, so simple, that Hannah almost choked. "You don't even know me. I don't need to." He looked at her. "Any man who breaks up over text is a coward. Any man who humiliates you in public is an idiot. And any man who can't recognize courage when it walks across a ballroom and grabs a stranger's arm." He paused. "Well, he didn't deserve you." Hannah was speechless. He held out his hand. Formal this time. "Gabriel Lawson." Hannah shook it. Still processing. "Hannah Price." "Hannah." He tested the name. "Well, Hannah, you just turned me into your fake boyfriend in front of 300 people. I hope you have a plan for the rest of the night." Hannah looked at him, her brain finally catching up to the gravity of the situation. "I don't." Gabriel smiled, this time genuinely. "Great. I love improvisation. Pretending to be the girlfriend of a billionaire you met literally 90 seconds ago was, as Hannah discovered, surprisingly hard. Especially when he had the posture of someone used to commanding Wall Street boardrooms, and she had the posture of someone used to talking to rats in the basement. Gabriel kept his arm firmly around her waist, not uncomfortable, but definitely present, like he was claiming territory. Hannah tried to look natural, failed miserably. "So," she began, her voice coming out weird and high, "are you enjoying the event?" Gabriel looked at her, one eyebrow slightly raised. "You really want to make small talk right now? I don't know what to do. I've never pretended to be anyone's girlfriend before. First time for everything." A middle-aged woman, hair in a tight bun, pearl necklace the size of quail eggs, approached. She looked at Hannah with thinly veiled curiosity. "Gabriel, darling," the woman smiled, teeth too white to be natural. "It's been so long. And who is this charming companion?" Gabriel didn't hesitate. "Margaret, this is Hannah, my girlfriend." The word hit like a nuclear bomb at a children's birthday party. Margaret blinked 3 times. Processing. "Girlfriend? But you always said relationships were complicated." "Yes," Gabriel interrupted smoothly. "Hannah changed my perspective." He looked at Hannah with something that almost resembled genuine affection. Almost. Hannah forced a smile and waved. "Hi. Yes, that's me. The perspective changer." Margaret laughed, a sharp sound like a bicycle horn. "How wonderful. How did you two meet?" Silence. Hannah hadn't prepared a backstory. Neither had Gabriel. They looked at each other, shared panic moment. Then Gabriel said casually, "At work. At the gym." Hannah added at the same time. Pause. Margaret frowned. "She works at my gym," Gabriel corrected, without missing a beat. "Personal trainer?" Hannah almost choked but nodded. "Yes, I train people physically with weights and cardio." "How interesting." Margaret looked Hannah up and down. clearly trying to imagine her lifting anything heavier than a laptop. You must be very dedicated. Oh yes, super dedicated. I lift things. Heavy things. Gabriel squeezed her waist lightly, half warning, half stifled laugh. Margaret said goodbye, still glancing back curiously as she walked away. As soon as she was out of earshot, Hannah whispered, "Desperate personal trainer? Seriously? You said gym." I panicked. "And you said work. How does that turn into personal trainer?" "Improv," Gabriel said, completely calm. "I thought you'd appreciate creativity." "I appreciate not being exposed as a compulsive liar." He almost smiled. "Technically, you started the lie. I'm just expanding the narrative." Another couple approached a man in a pinstriped suit, a woman in a gold dress that sparkled like a disco ball. "Gabriel Lawson," the man said, shaking his hand enthusiastically. "I heard you closed the deal with Apex Industries. Congratulations." "Thank you, Richard." Richard looked at Hannah. "And this is Hannah, my girlfriend." The woman in the gold dress practically sparkled with curiosity. "Girlfriend? Gabriel Lawson has a girlfriend?" "That's headline news." Hannah laughed nervously. "Yes, well, headlines happen." Awkward silence. Gabriel stepped in. "Hannah is a software engineer." Finally. "Something true." Richard looked impressed. "An engineer? What field?" Hannah relaxed just a little. This she could talk about. "Machine learning. Behavioral, predictive analysis algorithms." "Fascinating." The woman leaned closer. "Do you work for any well-known company?" Hannah opened her mouth, then remembered Tech Vibe Solutions. Andrew Carter, the stolen algorithm. Telling the truth would expose everything. "Independent consulting," Gabriel lied smoothly, saving her again. "She prefers not to tie herself to just one company." Of course, of course. Creative freedom." They said goodbye. Hannah exhaled, shaking. "Thank you again." "You're terrible at lying," Gabriel observed, almost amused. "I know. That's why I never lie. But you put me in this impossible situation. And you could put yourself there," he corrected. "I just agreed to play along." "Why?" Hannah turned to him, genuinely confused. "Why did you agree to this? You don't even know me." Gabriel studied her for a long moment. Then he said, voice lower, "Because I saw the way your ex looked at you like you were disposable." Pause. "And I saw the way you looked at him like it still hurt." Hannah lost her breath. "No one deserves to be treated like they're disposable," Gabriel continued. "Especially someone brave enough to cross a room and grab the arm of a complete stranger." Hannah felt something strange in her chest warmth, surprise, something dangerously close to hope. "You're very philosophical for a billionaire," she murmured. "And you're very sarcastic for a personal trainer." This time, she laughed for real. Then the music changed. A classical waltz started to play live orchestra in the corner of the ballroom. The master of ceremonies announced, "Ladies and gentlemen, we invite all couples to the dance floor." Dance floor. Hannah froze. Gabriel looked at the dance floor, then at her. "Do you know how to waltz?" "Technically, no. I watched Cinderella about 15 times as a kid. But that doesn't count. It definitely doesn't count." Couples began moving to the center of the room, including Tyler and Savannah, gliding gracefully as if they were in a ballroom competition. Tyler looked straight at Hannah, a teasing smile. "I bet you don't have the courage to dance." Hannah felt the heat rise in her chest. Then Gabriel did something completely unexpected. He held out his hand, formal, elegant. "Let's show them how it's done." Hannah looked at his hand, at the dance floor, at Tyler with that awful grin. "I'm going to step on your foot. Probably more than once. I've survived worse." Hannah took a deep breath, took his hand, and everything got worse. Hannah didn't know how to dance a waltz. Technically, she could walk in a straight line without tripping most of the time. So, in theory, she should be able to move her feet in a repeated pattern to classical music. Theory was about to collide violently with reality. Gabriel led her to the dance floor, firm hand on her back, the other holding hers with surprising gentleness for someone who probably signed billion-dollar contracts with that same hand. "I have no idea what I'm doing," Hannah whispered, panicked. "I know. Just follow me." Easy for you to say. You probably had dance lessons in some European castle. Switzerland. Close enough. Was he joking? Hannah couldn't tell. The music started soft violins, a melancholy piano, something by Strauss she vaguely recognized from a perfume commercial. Gabriel pulled her into the classic waltz position, his right hand firm on her waist, his left hand holding her right hand slightly raised. "Left foot back when I step forward," he instructed in a low voice. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Hannah tried. She took 3 steps, then stepped on his foot. "Sorry," she whispered, mortified. That wasn't part of the revenge plan. Gabriel didn't flinch. "I've survived worse. Keep going." They started again. This time Hannah managed 5 steps before a small stumble. Gabriel adjusted, compensating for her mistake so smoothly no one noticed. "How do you do that?" Hannah asked, genuinely confused. "Practice. And accepting you'll step on my foot at least 3 more times." "Optimistic. I'd say 5." He almost smiled. Around them, other couples were dancing. Tyler and Savannah at the center, of course, spinning in perfect sync as if competing for a gold medal. Tyler looked straight at Hannah, raised an eyebrow. "Look at that. She found someone. What a surprise." Savannah whispered something in his ear, laughing. Hannah felt anger rising. "Breathe," Gabriel said, calm voice. "He wants to see you lose it. Don't give him that satisfaction." Easy for you to say. You don't have an idiot ex-boyfriend watching you like you're some kind of joke. True. My exes are no better than to show up. Intimidating. Practical. They kept dancing. Hannah started to get the rhythm, not perfectly, but enough to avoid disaster every 3 seconds. Gabriel guided her with natural confidence, as if waltzing were as easy as signing checks or running board meetings. His hand on her waist was firm, warm, steady. Hannah realized, with some surprise, that she felt safe. 2 men in suits, clearly important investors, shiny Rolex watches, the kind of posture that said they were used to being the richest in the room, approached the dance floor, walking toward Gabriel. One of the security guards appeared out of nowhere, discreet, efficient, and blocked their path. Words were exchanged in low voices. The investors backed off, clearly disappointed. Hannah looked at Gabriel. "Okay, seriously, who on earth are you?" "I already told you." "Gabriel Lawson." "That's not an answer. You have security blocking investors. People literally bow when you walk by." "I invest in companies," Gabriel said casually, like he was describing a weekend hobby. "Mostly technology. Define invest." "I buy shares. Sometimes I buy the entire company. Depends on the day." Hannah almost stumbled again. "You buy companies. Whole companies. For fun?" "It's not fun. It's work." "Work, right? Like buying a bakery is my job." Gabriel twirled her smooth, controlled, and suddenly they were closer than before. He looked at her, curious expression. "Your ex," he said softly. "What exactly did he do?" The question caught her off guard. She hadn't planned to answer, hadn't planned to open that wound in front of a complete stranger, technically fake boyfriend, but still a stranger. But the words came out anyway. "He said I had no ambition, that I was small, that I'd never do anything important." Pause. "He broke up with me over text. 3 weeks later, he was engaged to her." Hannah subtly nodded toward Savannah, spinning gracefully in Tyler's arms. Gabriel stayed quiet for a moment. Then he squeezed her hand a little tighter. Not enough to hurt, but enough to mean something. "Idiot," he said. Simple, direct. 1 word, but it carried absolute conviction. Hannah felt something strange in her chest, warmth, relief, something dangerously close to validation. "You don't even know me," she murmured. I don't need to. Gabriel spun her again, moving perfectly in time with the music. Anyone with eyes can see that you're smart, brave, resilient. Hannah blinked, trying to process. You got that from 5 minutes of conversation? I got that from the fact that you walked across a room full of intimidating people, grabbed the arm of a total stranger surrounded by security, and pulled off a fake relationship act in front of 300 people. Pause. That's not a lack of ambition. That's boldness. Hannah had no words. Tyler and Savannah passed near them at that moment. Tyler deliberately slowed down, making sure to look at Hannah with that same condescending smile. Han, you're dancing. How cute. I didn't know you had coordination for that. Before Hannah could answer, probably with something sarcastic and useless, Gabriel stepped in. He looked at Tyler with a neutral expression. Not hostile, not friendly, just indifferent, as if Tyler were a mildly annoying insect. Excuse me, Gabriel said, polite but firm. You are? Tyler blinked, clearly offended. Tyler Morgan. Hannah and I. Ah, Gabriel cut him off. The ex. Silence. Tyler turned red. Savannah squeezed his arm, trying to pull him away. Gabriel continued, still polite. Nice to meet you. If you'll excuse me, I'm dancing with my girlfriend. And he spun Hannah away, ending the conversation. Hannah stared at him, speechless. You just... Yes, that was necessary. Hannah wanted to laugh and cry and kiss this man. Okay, maybe not that last part. Not yet. They kept dancing. Tyler and Savannah walked off, clearly irritated. Their perfect dance moment completely ruined. Hannah looked at Gabriel. Really looked. He wasn't just wealthy. He wasn't just confident. He was kind in his cold, controlled, intimidating way. Thank you, she said softly. For what? For not making me feel small. Gabriel held her gaze. You were never small, Hannah. You were just surrounded by small people who made you believe you were. And then, in the middle of the waltz, in the middle of the room, something inside Hannah began to heal. That's when she felt it, the side seam of the dress giving out. Rip. Not loud, but definite. Hannah froze. No, she whispered. No, no, no. Gabriel noticed immediately. The dress? The dress. How much time do we have? Seconds. Maybe minutes if I don't breathe. And then the worst possible thing happened. The dress started giving out more. That exact moment in life when you realize your borrowed dress is about to fall apart in the middle of a gala with 300 people watching is the kind of experience that redefines the meaning of worst nightmare. The side seam made a low sound rip that only she and Gabriel heard, but in her mind it was as loud as a siren. Don't panic, Gabriel said, voice calm, still dancing. Easy for you to say. You're not about to become a public joke. True, but I'm not panicking either, because you won't be exposed. Gabriel stopped dancing gently, naturally, as if the music had ended. It hadn't. Then he did something Hannah didn't expect. He let go of her, took off his blazer, the dark gray tailored blazer that probably cost more than her yearly salary, possibly more than her car which she had sold 3 months ago, but still, and placed it on her shoulders. The gesture was so natural, so smooth, it looked rehearsed, as if they had planned it in advance. The whole room noticed. Whispers spread. He gave her his blazer. That's so romantic. Who is she? Gabriel buttoned the blazer on her slowly, one button at a time, looking directly into her eyes. Hannah froze, unable to process what was happening. He adjusted the collar, smoothed the shoulders, made sure it was secure. There, he said softly, just for her to hear. Now no one sees anything but you. Hannah looked down. The blazer covered the problem area completely. It was snug on her, but somehow it worked. She felt the warm fabric against her skin. It carried his scent, woody, expensive, definitely not bought at a drugstore. If this blazer is insured, Hannah whispered, trying to ease the tension, please let me know. I'll need to pay for it in installments like a 30-year mortgage." Gabriel laughed. Not a polite laugh, not a forced breath. A real laugh, low, short, but real. "Keep it," he said, still smiling lightly. "It looks better on you than it ever did on me." Hannah seriously doubted that, but she wasn't about to argue while the blazer was saving her from public humiliation. The ballroom kept buzzing, half impressed, half shocked. Tyler and Savannah stood frozen in the middle of the dance floor, Tyler with barely hidden irritation, Savannah red-faced and jaw clenched. "This was," Hannah began, searching for words. "Thank you. Really. You didn't have to." "I did," Gabriel interrupted. "You were about to have a problem. I fixed it. Simple. Nothing about tonight is simple. Fair." An older woman approached, perfectly styled gray hair, emerald green dress, diamond necklace that probably cost more than a suburban house. She carried an air of importance like a retired senator or a multinational CEO. "Gabriel, dear." She smiled, opening her arms. "How long has it been since that dreadful board meeting in Boston?" "Right." Gabriel nodded respectfully. "Senator Williams. Good to see you." "Senator, of course. Because nothing tonight could be normal." Senator Williams looked at Hannah with genuine, approving curiosity. "And who is this charming company?" Gabriel didn't hesitate for a second. "Hannah, my girlfriend." The word landed in the air like a nuclear bomb. "Girlfriend?" Hannah almost choked, managing to turn it into a polite cough. Senator Williams practically lit up with joy. "Girlfriend? Gabriel Lawson has a girlfriend? I thought I'd never live to see the day." "Surprises happen," Gabriel said, completely calm. The senator turned to Hannah with a warm smile. "Dear, you've accomplished the impossible. This man has been married to his work for 10 years. How did you win him over?" Hannah opened her mouth, closed it, opened it again. "Persistence and questionable charm." The senator laughed, delighted. "Modesty, I love it." She said her goodbyes, still smiling, and returned to her group of equally important and intimidating people. As soon as she was out of earshot, Hannah turned to Gabriel, wide-eyed. "Girlfriend, don't you think that was a little too much?" Gabriel shrugged calmly. "You started it. I'm just following the script." "There was no script." "I grabbed your arm in existential panic, and now we're improvising pretty well, actually." Hannah wanted to argue, wanted to point out that this was getting completely out of control, but then she realized she didn't want it to stop. Having someone, especially someone like Gabriel Lawson, protecting her, standing up for her, believing in her. It was strange. It was good. It was terrifying. "Great," Hannah muttered, mostly to herself. "Now, I'm the fake girlfriend of a man who could probably sue me in 47 different countries. 52, technically," Gabriel corrected. "But who's counting?" She stared at him, open-mouthed. "Are you joking with me?" "Maybe." Hannah didn't know whether to laugh or scream. She chose to laugh. They stood there for a moment, she wearing his blazer, he without it, which somehow made him look even more intimidating. The whole ballroom was still sneaking glances their way. A waiter passed by with a tray of appetizers. Finally, Hannah muttered, grabbing one. "Food proof that this night is real and not a stress-induced hallucination." Gabriel picked up a glass of wine from the tray. "You're doing well," he said. Considering my life is falling apart in slow motion. Considering I'm improvising a fake relationship in front of some of the most powerful people on the East Coast. When you put it that way, it sounds even worse." Hannah bit into the canapé. It was smoked salmon with something fancy she couldn't identify. "This canapé probably costs $15, she said with her mouth half full. "I could buy lunch for a whole week with that." Gabriel almost smiled again. "You're refreshingly practical." "You mean poor. You can say it?" "No, I mean genuine." Hannah stopped chewing. The way he looked at her wasn't pity. It wasn't condescension. It was curiosity. Real interest, like she was a puzzle he wanted to solve. "You work in tech," Gabriel said. It wasn't a question. "Yes. Software engineering, machine learning, specifically predictive algorithms, behavioral data processing, deep neural networks analysis." Hannah stopped. She realized she was talking way too fast, too excited about algorithms at a gala to a billionaire who probably had better things to do. "Sorry," she said, blushing. "I kind of get carried away when I talk about code." Gabriel didn't look away. "Go on," he said. And that's when she made the fatal mistake. She opened her mouth about algorithms. Hannah Price had a problem. When she got nervous, she talked. And when she talked about technology, she completely forgot where she was, who she was with, and what lies she had told in the last 30 minutes. Someone nearby made a comment about the newly launched app Sync Pulse Analytics, praising its revolutionary interface and ultra-fast processing. Hannah, still wearing Gabriel's blazer, still processing the fact that she had danced a waltz without falling, still trying to understand how her life had turned into the script of an absurd romantic comedy, heard it and reacted instinctively. "The algorithm has a bottleneck in the distributed hash function," she said casually, as if commenting on the weather. "If they don't adjust the collision rate in the B-tree index, it's going to crash when the user base goes over 500,000 simultaneous users." Silence. Not the polite kind of silence. The "what did you just say?" kind. Gabriel stopped drinking his wine, slowly turned toward her. "How do you know that?" "Oh no." Hannah's brain went into full panic abort mission mode. "I overheard some people. You know how tech folks love to talk about code in forums and Reddit. A lot of Reddit." Gabriel didn't buy it. Not even a little. "This kind of information," he said, voice controlled but with an intensity that made Hannah want to dig a hole and hide, "isn't on forums. It isn't on Reddit. It's internal documentation, senior developer level." He paused. "Or original creator." Hannah opened her mouth, closed it, opened it again like a fish out of water. "I'm really good at Google." Hannah. The way he said her name, not angry, not accusatory, just determined, made her realize that Gabriel Lawson was not the kind of man who accepted evasive answers. "Okay, look." Then Andrew Carter showed up. Of course. Because her timing was always perfect. "Mr. Lawson." Andrew practically ran toward them, hand extended, used car salesman smile. "It is an honor to have you here. I hope you're impressed with our work." Gabriel looked at Andrew's extended hand. Didn't shake it. Just looked. Andrew lowered his hand, laughing nervously. "Your work?" Gabriel repeated, tone neutral. "Well, the teams, of course." Andrew gestured vaguely. "But the central vision, the strategic architecture that was mine," Gabriel interrupted, subtly pointing to Hannah with his wineglass. "And her? What was her role?" Andrew looked at Hannah for the first time, quick, just a status check, then looked away like she was part of the furniture. "Oh, Hannah." He laughed, condescending. "Administrative support, file organization, documentation, those kinds of things. Very important to keep everything organized." Administrative support. Hannah felt the blood boil. Her fists clenched inside the oversized sleeves of Gabriel's blazer. But before she could speak, before she could yell, expose, explode, Gabriel spoke. His voice was dangerously calm. The calm before the storm kind of calm. Interesting. Because she just described a specific structural issue in the code that even my technical audit team hasn't identified yet. Andrew froze. The fake smile was still there, but his eyes went straight into panic mode. Well, you know how it is. Information circulates. Developers talk to each other, Gabriel repeated. The word dripped pure sarcasm. Information about critical vulnerabilities in code architecture just circulates. Andrew started sweating visibly. "I can explain. Please." Gabriel gestured for him to continue. Waited. Andrew opened his mouth, closed it, looked at Hannah with something between anger and desperation, then mumbled, "I need to check something with the team. Excuse me," and ran. Literally ran across the ballroom like a man running from a lawsuit. Hannah stood still, shaking slightly. Gabriel turned to her steady gaze. Analytical. "We're going to talk," he said. It wasn't a request. Alone. Gabriel led her to a private balcony, a small, quiet space with a view of the city lights. He closed the glass door behind them, cutting off the noise of the ballroom. Silence. Hannah looked out at the city, avoiding his eyes. "You're going to ask me," she said softly. "Yes. And if I don't want to answer, you'll answer anyway, because lying isn't your strength." Hannah laughed, a bitter, tired sound. "You've known me for like 2 hours, and in those 2 hours you've lied 4 times. All of them bad." He paused. "Except the first one." Hannah turned to him. "First one? When you pulled me and pretended we were a couple." Gabriel tilted his head. "That one you sold well, because it wasn't entirely a lie. You really did need help. You really were desperate. That was true." He took a step closer. "But now you just talked about the code with the kind of accuracy only the original creator would have. Andrew practically admitted he has no idea what he's talking about. And you—" He studied her. "You're protecting someone. Or hiding something." Hannah felt her eyes burn. "I'm not protecting anyone." "Then you're hiding something." Silence. Hannah took a deep breath. His blazer was still on her shoulders, warm, smelling like him. "I built the first algorithm," she finally said. "A year ago, behavioral data analysis. Andrew saw my prototype, said he was going to review it, and presented it as his in the board meeting." Gabriel didn't look surprised. He just nodded, processing. "You reported it?" "I tried. He made me look unstable. Said I was confused about hierarchy and emotionally unbalanced. HR believed him." Hannah gave a bitter laugh. "They demoted me from the 3rd floor to the basement, from senior engineer to technical support specialist. 30% pay cut. And you stayed. Because I need the money. My mom's sick. Treatment costs more than everything. I can't afford to be unemployed." Gabriel stayed quiet, taking it in. "But it wasn't just once," Hannah continued, her voice shaking. "In the basement I kept working. I built a second algorithm, better, more advanced. Sync pulse. Machine learning with deep neural networks. It reduces processing time by 67%. She turned toward the city, wiping her eyes quickly. "And 3 days ago I watched Andrew present it at the company's general meeting, my algorithm, my words, my charts. He even used the same joke I wrote on slide 7. Pause. And today here, he took all the credit again in front of investors. In front of you." Silence. Then Gabriel said, voice low and dangerous, "He's not getting away with this." Hannah turned. "What?" "Andrew Carter. He's not getting away with it." "Gabriel, you don't have to. I invest in tech companies. I review code. I detect fraud." He looked at her with absolute intensity. "And I just found one." Hannah was speechless. "But first," Gabriel continued, "I need to know, do you have proof?" "Proof? Emails? Drafts? Original prototypes with date and time," Hannah thought. "I have backups on my personal laptop. All time-stamped." Gabriel smiled. It wasn't a kind smile. It was the smile of a predator who had just spotted prey. Good. Hannah had 2 choices, tell the truth or run. But with Gabriel Lawson, running was never a real option. On Monday morning, Hannah learned that going viral was a lot less fun than influencers made it seem. She arrived at the office at 8:47 a.m., 3 minutes late because she spent 13 minutes looking for a shirt without a coffee stain and immediately realized something was wrong. Very wrong. 3 people stopped talking as she walked down the hallway. 2 receptionists stared at her, whispered, and one showed the other something on her phone. Maya came running, literally running, and pulled Hannah into the nearest corner. "You're viral," Maya whispered, eyes wide. "What?" Maya shoved her phone in Hannah's face. The screen showed a photo of Hannah wearing Gabriel's blazer, the two of them standing on the dance floor, him looking at her with an expression that seemed protective, interested. The lighting was perfect. It looked like a celebrity magazine cover. Below the photo, 17 messages in the company gossip group. "Guys, who is Hannah Price? She works here? How? That's Gabriel Lawson. The billionaire Gabriel Lawson. Is she like a secret heiress or a corporate spy or both?" "Oh no," Hannah groaned. "Oh no. 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 Oh yes," Maya corrected. "Way too excited for the situation. You're famous like Cinderella, but corporate edition, with less fairies and more jealous people. This is a disaster. Or an opportunity. Depends on how you look at it." Before Hannah could respond, probably with something pessimistic and realistic, Andrew's secretary, Jennifer 50, permed hair, always looking like she was chewing on a lemon, appeared. "Hannah Price." She said the name, like it was forbidden. "Mr. Carter wants to see you now." Maya gave her a good luck, you'll need it, face and strategically vanished. Hannah went up to the third floor forbidden territory since her demotion and knocked on Andrew's office door. "Come in." Andrew was behind the desk, face red, a vein in his forehead visibly throbbing. His phone was on the desk, screen showing the exact same photo Maya had shown. "Sit." It wasn't a request. Hannah sat. "You," Andrew began, voice shaking with restrained anger, "are going to destroy my reputation." Hannah blinked. "Me? How?" "You snuck into a corporate event without an invitation, using fake credentials technically borrowed, and pretended to be Gabriel Lawson's girlfriend." Andrew practically spat the name. "Do you have any idea who he is?" "Vaguely. Billionaire. Invests in things. Has intimidating security." Andrew slammed his fist on the table. Hannah jumped. "He was considering buying a stake in this company, and now he's going to think we hire frauds. Technically I work here, so I'm not." "You're an administrative assistant," Andrew shouted. "You organize files. You don't belong at gala events. You don't belong in the same city as people like Gabriel Lawson." Something inside Hannah snapped, not the breakdown crying kind. The enough is enough kind. "Actually, Andrew," she said, calm but with steel in her voice, "it's our event now. Thanks for asking. Gabriel invited me personally. So technically I had more right to be there than you." "You're lying." "Am I?" Hannah stood up. "Or are you just mad because for the first time in a year someone saw me as more than the basement furniture? Stay in your place." "My place?" Hannah laughed, a bitter, tired sound. "You mean the basement? Where you dumped me after stealing my work and making me look crazy when I tried to report it?" Andrew went pale. "I didn't. Twice. Andrew, you stole my work twice. And now you're mad because I went to a party, because someone finally saw me? You're fired." The words fell like a sentence. Hannah felt panic sharp and fast. She needed this job. The money, the treatment, the bills. But then she remembered Gabriel. Gabriel saying he won't get away with it. Gabriel asking for proof. Gabriel possibly on her side. It was a total bluff. Risky. Potentially suicidal. But she was tired. "Try it," Hannah said, voice surprisingly steady. "I'm sure Mr. Lawson will love to hear that you fired his girlfriend without cause." Dead silence. Andrew opened his mouth, closed it, opened it again. You two, you're dating?" "Yes." Surprise. Hannah grabbed her bag. "By the way, he mentioned something about evaluating corporate fraud. Strange, right?" And she left, slammed the door, left Andrew frozen, wide-eyed, visibly panicked. Hannah went down the stairs. She didn't trust the elevator, reached the first-floor hallway, and leaned against the wall, shaking. I just threatened my boss using a fake relationship with a billionaire I met yesterday. Her phone rang, unknown number. Hannah answered, hand trembling. Hello? A male voice, formal and professional. Miss Price, my name is James, Mr. Lawson's driver. A vehicle will pick you up at the main entrance in 10 minutes. Mr. Lawson would like to speak with you. Hannah stared at the phone like it had grown tentacles. Now? Like right now? Yes, miss. 10 minutes. He hung up. Hannah put the phone away, still shaking. Maya appeared out of nowhere. She was good at that. What happened? Why do you look so pale? Did Andrew fire you? Almost. I bluffed. Used Gabriel as a shield. And now Gabriel's sending for me. Maya's eyes widened. Like Cinderella getting picked up by the carriage, or like a fraud getting picked up for police questioning? Optimism, hon. Try it. I can't. My optimism's been stuck in the basement for 6 months. Maya fixed Hannah's hair, smoothed out the coffee stain on her blouse, it didn't help, and pushed her toward the door. Go. If it's jail, I'll visit. If it's romance, I want every detail. And if it's both, then it's a streaming original. Hannah walked out the main door. A black Mercedes, shiny, intimidating, probably worth more than her entire student loan debt, was parked out front. A man in a suit, James, presumably opened the back door. Hannah looked at the car, at the building behind her, at the uncertain future ahead. The black car waited, and Hannah didn't know if she was being rescued or abducted. The glass and steel tower in the financial district had the kind of security that made airports look relaxed. Hannah went through 3 checkpoints, metal detector, retina scanner seriously, and a guard who looked at her like she was a national security threat before finally stepping into the private elevator that went straight to the 42nd floor. 42nd. Hannah lived in a ground-floor 1-bedroom apartment that smelled like mold and had a neighbor who played drums at 2 a.m. Gabriel Lawson had an office in the sky. The elevator doors opened directly into a minimalist lobby, white marble, modern furniture, and a flawless blonde receptionist who looked at her with barely hidden curiosity. Miss Price. The receptionist smiled professionally. Mr. Lawson is expecting you. This way. Hannah followed, trying not to look completely out of place and failing miserably. The receptionist opened a pair of glass double doors. Gabriel's office was intimidating, minimalist, clean. One entire wall of glass with a panoramic view of the city. A huge darkwood desk, 2 black leather sofas, no personal photos, no unnecessary decoration, just power concentrated in architectural form. Gabriel stood with his back to her, on the phone, speaking in Mandarin. Hannah froze. Of course he speaks Mandarin. He probably speaks 17 languages while solving a Rubik's Cube and closing corporate deals. He noticed Hannah, motioned for her to wait, and ended the call with a short, decisive sentence. He turned around. Sit. It wasn't a request. It was a command. Hannah sat on the leather sofa, which probably cost more than her kidney on the black market. Gabriel took the seat across from her, crossed his legs, studied her with that precise, surgical focus that made Hannah feel like a lab specimen. You know you created something worth billions, right? Hannah laughed, a nervous, high-pitched sound like a broken bicycle horn. Billions? With this hair? She pointed to her messy bun. I think you've got the wrong Hannah. There are at least 5 at the company. Gabriel didn't laugh. My technical audit team worked all night. They went through every line of sync pulse code. Hannah felt her stomach sink. And it's yours. Unequivocally. Silence. Every line of code carries your fingerprints. Gabriel continued. Voice neutral but firm. Unique logic. Sarcastic internal comments. One of them literally says, "If this breaks, blame the company's cheap coffee." Hannah blushed. I was frustrated when I wrote that. You were right. The coffee is terrible. Gabriel almost smiled. My team also found earlier prototypes all time-stamped. all clearly yours. How did you? I invest in technology, Hannah. I evaluate code. I spot talent. He leaned forward slightly. And I just found a genius hidden in a basement talking to rodents. Hannah didn't know whether to laugh or cry. You investigated my basement? I investigated the entire company. And I found that the so-called creative genius Andrew Carter can barely write "Hello World" without looking it up on Stack Overflow. Hannah let out a laugh, half hysterical, half relieved. So you believe me? I don't believe. I have proof. Gabriel picked up a tablet and slid it to her. Full report, 43 pages of evidence documenting authorship, code style, and inconsistencies in Andrew's claims. Hannah looked at the tablet. At Gabriel, back at the tablet. Why did you do this? Because I hate fraud. And because you caught my interest. Hannah felt her face heat up. This is a lot. I have an offer, Gabriel interrupted, shifting back into business mode. I'm going to invest heavily in Tech Vibe Solutions. Full restructuring. But I have one non-negotiable condition. Hannah swallowed. What? You will be promoted to Chief Technology Officer. Andrew now answers to you. Not the other way around. Hannah nearly fell off the expensive leather sofa. You? What? I can't. He would never. This is... You created an algorithm worth billions. You can. He will. And it's fair. Why are you doing this? Gabriel stood, walked to the window, and looked out at the city. Because I invest in competent people. Because I hate when talent gets wasted by fragile egos. Pause. And because, strangely, I liked being your fake boyfriend. Hannah froze. I'm sorry. I shouldn't have dragged you into it. It was pure ego desperation. It was smart. Gabriel turned to her. You saw an opportunity in the middle of chaos and acted. Improvised under pressure. I respect that. He walked toward her, stopped in front of her. He was very tall. But now I have a different proposal. Hannah looked up. Different how? Be my girlfriend. For real. Hannah blinked. Once. Twice. 3 times. You're joking. I never joke about romantic proposals or corporate acquisitions. You don't even know me. It's been like 36 hours. Gabriel sat down on the sofa next to her, close enough for her to smell his warm, woody cologne. I know you're brilliant, brave, a little too sarcastic for your own good. He studied her. And that you look adorable when you're nervous. Hannah was officially speechless. Look, Gabriel continued, tone pragmatic. I could give you a romantic speech, talk about destiny, instant connection, all that, but the truth is simpler. I'm interested in you, and I always go after what interests me. That's very direct. Would you rather I lie? Say it was love at first sight, that the universe conspired? No. Then dinner tonight. For real. No exes, no act, no audience. Just us. Hannah took a deep breath. And if it doesn't work, if it's awkward, then you'll still be CTO? I keep business and personal separate. Always. He extended his hand. I promise. Hannah looked at his hand, at the steel gray eyes, at the impossible future unfolding in front of her. She reached out. Deal. But I'm paying for my part of dinner. Gabriel laughed, genuine, short. We'll see. It's not negotiable. Everything's negotiable. Typical CEO. Typical CTO. They shook hands. The handshake lasted a second longer than strictly professional. Hannah pulled her hand back, blushing. So, dinner. Normal. Like normal people. The definition of normal is debatable. You know what I mean. I do. Gabriel smiled, small but real. 7 o'clock. I'll pick you up. I can get there myself, Hannah. The way he said her name made any argument evaporate. 7 o'clock. But Gabriel had a plan, and it didn't just involve dinner. Gabriel arrived at exactly 7. Apparently billionaires were punctual too. Dinner was at a quiet Italian restaurant, not one of those pretentious places with tiny portions and French names no one can pronounce. It was cozy, candles, soft music, pasta that actually filled you up. You brought me somewhere normal? Hannah asked, surprised, looking at the menu with prices that didn't require a bank loan. You said normal dinner. I took it literally. Impressive. I thought you only knew places with sommeliers and French mutters. I do. But you would have hated it. True. They talked about code, obviously, about her mom who was finally responding well to treatment, about absolutely nothing important and everything at the same time. Gabriel was surprisingly easy to talk to when he wasn't in intimidating CEO mode. He was smart, curious, even dryly sarcastic in a way that made her laugh. At the end of the night, when the check came, Hannah reached for it. Gabriel looked at her like she had just suggested setting money on fire. I told you I'd pay for my part. And I told you I wouldn't let you. This is non-negotiable. I chose the restaurant. I'm paying. Hannah sighed, defeated. Next time I'll choose, and it'll be Taco Bell. Deal. When he dropped her off, yes, he insisted on driving her. Hannah realized something frightening. She wanted there to be a next time, and the next morning, Gabriel called. I have a plan, he said without preamble. Good morning to you too. Good morning. I have a plan. What kind of plan? The kind that involves you finally getting the credit you deserve. Publicly. Dramatically. Hannah felt her stomach sink. Dramatically how? You'll see. Trust me. Famous last words before you ruin my life. Or save it. Perspective. 3 days later, Hannah discovered that Gabriel's plan involved public exposure, corporate revenge, and drama worthy of a reality show. She was hiding in the back of the Tech Vibes Solutions auditorium, the same place where weeks ago she had watched Andrew steal her credit for the first time. Only now there were cameras, lots of cameras, and journalists, and investors in suits too expensive to be real. Gabriel had invited her. Translation. Ordered her to attend. Wear something nice, he'd said yesterday. I only own basement clothes. Then wear the least bad. Now she was there wearing the only blouse without a visible stain, standing next to Maya, who was buzzing with excitement like someone watching an MMA fight. This is going to be epic, Maya whispered. Like Game of Thrones but with PowerPoint. On stage, Andrew was giving another speech again about his revolutionary work. And with this innovative algorithm I developed, the double doors of the auditorium opened. Gabriel Lawson walked in. The entire room stood up literally as if the president had arrived. Andrew stopped mid-sentence, his smile freezing. Gabriel walked down the central aisle, firm steps, flawless posture, flanked by security, and stepped onto the stage. Andrew held out his hand, forced smile. Mr. Lawson. What an honor. Gabriel looked at the hand, didn't shake it, just took the microphone from Andrew. Thank you for the invitation, Gabriel said, voice echoing through the room. But before we talk about investment, we need to correct a mistake. Dead silence. The Sync Pulse algorithm everyone's been praising was not created by Mr. Carter. The room exploded in whispers. Andrew laughed nervous, high-pitched. Mr. Lawson, I believe there's been some kind of misunderstanding. There wasn't. Gabriel cut him off, voice calm but firm. The algorithm was created by Miss Hannah Price. My technical audit team confirmed it. Every line of code, every data structure, every sarcastic internal comment about bad coffee. Laughter filled the auditorium. Andrew turned pale. That's ridiculous. Hannah works in administrative support. Hannah Price, Gabriel continued, ignoring him completely, was demoted a year ago after creating the first algorithm which Mr. Carter also presented as his own. When she tried to report it, she was silenced, humiliated, and forced to work in the basement. Cameras clicked. Journalists scribbled furiously. I have original prototypes with timestamps, emails where Mr. Carter asked just to review her work, code audit logs showing undeniable authorship. Andrew tried to grab the microphone back. Gabriel pushed him aside, a minimal gesture, but Gabriel had 6 inches and an intimidating presence on his side. "This is defamation," Andrew shouted. "I'll sue. Please do." Gabriel smiled, not a kind smile. "I have a team of 47 board-certified corporate lawyers looking for something interesting to do." The auditorium burst into laughter. Andrew turned red, then pale, then red again. Gabriel turned to the audience. "Hannah Price, please come up to the stage." Hannah froze. No, 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 no. That was not in the plan. He didn't say I'd have to talk. Maya pushed her. "Go. This is your moment." "I don't want a moment. I want invisibility." "Too late. Go." Hannah stumbled toward the aisle, legs shaking, face burning. 300 pairs of eyes turned toward her. She climbed the steps to the stage, tripped on the last one of course, but recovered miraculously. Gabriel reached out, helping her up, whispered just to her, "If you faint, I'll catch you. Promise." He handed her the microphone. Hannah held it hand, visibly trembling. She looked at the audience, at the cameras, at Andrew glaring at her. Her voice came out shaky. "I built Sync Pulse. Alone. In the basement." The silence was focused. "I used deep neural networks with distributed processing. The bottleneck was in the hash function, so I implemented optimized B-trees to reduce collisions. That cut processing time by 67%. She took a deep breath, voice growing steadier. "People ask why I didn't report it earlier. Because I tried, and I was demoted. Humiliated. Silenced. Because no one believes the basement girl over the man in the expensive suit." Pause. "But someone believed me." She looked at Gabriel, and that changed everything. The room erupted in applause. It started hesitant, then grew stronger, then became deafening. Hannah felt her eyes sting. She didn't cry almost, but she felt it. Andrew tried to slip out quietly through the side of the stage. Gabriel stopped him with one word. "Mr. Carter." Andrew froze. "Before you go, one last thing." Gabriel turned to Hannah. "Miss Price, do you accept the position of Chief Technology Officer at Tech Vibe Solutions?" Hannah blinked. Yes, I do." More applause. And then Gabriel did something no one expected. He pulled Hannah by the waist and kissed her right there in front of 300 people, cameras flashing, reporters shouting questions. The kiss was soft, respectful, but absolutely clear. When they pulled apart, Hannah whispered, stunned, "That was not in the script." Gabriel smiled just for her. "I tore up the script. Now we're improvising." The room erupted in applause, whistles and flashes. In the back, Tyler and Savannah were furious. Savannah dragged Tyler out, visibly livid. Andrew was escorted out by security, not Gabriel's, but the company's. HR apparently had urgent questions. Maya shouted from the back, "I ship you too." Hannah laughed real, relieved, hysterical. Gabriel held her hand. "Ready to get out of here?" "More than ready." They stepped down from the stage together, hand in hand, as the room kept applauding. Outside in the hallway, Hannah finally exhaled. "You planned all of this?" "Yes." "Even the kiss?" "No. That was improvisation. Good improvisation." "Thank you." Hannah laughed. Gabriel did too. And then 6 months later, Hannah Price had an office with a window. Not a tiny porthole window, a real window. A full glass wall with a view of the city. Natural light. Air conditioning that worked. An ergonomic chair that didn't squeak with every move. And a nameplate on the door, Hannah Price, Chief Technology Officer. She still looked at the sign sometimes just to make sure it was real. Inside the office, her team, the one she built, she interviewed, she approved, worked in harmony. 5 brilliant engineers who respected her, listened to her, and never, ever tried to steal credit. Sync Pulse exploded. 2 million users, 0 crashes, 67% more efficient than any competitor. And everyone knew who created it. Andrew Carter, fired 3 days after the press conference, currently facing charges for intellectual property theft and corporate fraud. The last time Hannah checked OK, she peeked on the job app. He was seeking new opportunities, corporate code for unemployed and being sued. Tyler and Savannah over spectacularly. He was caught cheating with the personal trainer. A cliché but deeply satisfying. Savannah posted something very public that destroyed his reputation. Hannah didn't read it. Lie. She read it 3 times with popcorn. Maya promoted to senior receptionist with a 20% raise. Still delivering high-quality office gossip. Hannah's mom in remission, smiling again, making plans for the future. And Gabriel. Hannah was reviewing code line 247, had an annoying bug that had been bothering her for 20 minutes when he walked in without knocking. Because Gabriel Lawson didn't knock. He just entered her space like it was his too. Technically he was the majority investor, but still. Busy? He asked, leaning against the door. Always. Perfect. Let's go out. Hannah didn't even look up. Gabriel, I have a meeting in 15 minutes with the infrastructure team. Cancel it. I can't cancel. I'm the CTO. I have responsibilities. Credibility to maintain. Hannah. Something in his tone made her stop typing. She looked up. Gabriel was holding a small dark blue velvet box. Hannah stopped breathing. Before you make a joke, Gabriel said, voice steady but with a hint of nervousness. Gabriel Lawson. Nervous. Let me talk. He stepped into the office, closed the door. I don't believe in over-the-top romance. I'm not going to propose in a fancy restaurant with a violinist and roses, but I believe in you, in us, in building something real. And then by all the gods of programming, he got down on one knee. Gabriel Lawson, billionaire, CEO, a man who led board meetings without blinking, kneeling in her office. Hannah felt her eyes burn. Hannah Price. He opened the box. Simple, elegant ring. Diamond that shone but didn't scream, will you marry me? Hannah opened her mouth. Nothing came out. And before you answer, Gabriel continued, a nervous smile appearing, know that, 1, I'll support you always, in everything. 2, I'll protect you from anyone who doubts you, verbally, legally, whatever it takes. 3, I'll never ever take credit for your work. Not by accident, not even as a joke. 4, and I'll love you every day, even when you insist on paying for dinner. Hannah laughed, a mix between a laugh and a sob. You practiced this for 3 weeks? 3 weeks? My lawyers thought it was embarrassing. Asked me to stop using meeting time to rehearse a marriage proposal. They're right. This is embarrassing. So is it a yes? Or should I stay on my knees until they give out? Hannah pulled him up, surprising strength for someone 5'5", and kissed him. It's a yes. Are you sure? Because, Gabriel, shut up and kiss me again. He did. When they pulled apart, Hannah looked at the ring on her finger. But I'm choosing the wedding cake. Deal. And the flowers. Also deal. And the venue. Hannah, you can choose everything except the honeymoon. That's my territory. Fine. 3 months later, the wedding wasn't at the fancy grand ballroom. It was in a simple garden, wildflowers, trees, natural light, 50 guests max. Hannah wore a dress that did not threaten to rip. Maya personally checked the seams 3 times. Gabriel wore the same dark gray blazer from that night, the one he draped over her shoulders when her dress started to give out. Lucky, he said when Hannah asked. You're sentimental. I'm practical. The blazer worked once. Maya was the maid of honor, pink dress, cried through the entire ceremony. Gabriel's 2 bodyguards, James and Marcus, were groomsmen. They cried too. No one mentioned it. Everyone pretended not to notice. Hannah's mom sat in the front row, healthy, smiling, wiping away tears. Tyler wasn't invited. Obviously. When the pastor said, "You may kiss the bride," Gabriel leaned down and whispered, "You know what surprised me most that night? Hannah smiled, eyes shining. That I lied so well? That I found someone real. He kissed her. And this time it wasn't an act. It wasn't strategy. It wasn't a plan. It was love, real, imperfect, built on courage, stolen algorithms, torn dresses, and one desperate moment that changed everything. As everyone applauded, Hannah thought it was worth it. Every second of fear, every moment of shame, every day in that basement talking to a rat because they brought me here. To him, Gabriel whispered, still holding her. Good thing you grabbed my arm that night, Hannah answered, laughing through tears. Good thing you didn't sue me. I thought about it for 2 seconds. Seriously? No. But it makes a better story if I say yes. They laughed because now, finally, they could. At the reception hours later, while they were cutting the cake chocolate with ganache Hannah's choice, Maya walked up. So Tyler posted today. Hannah raised an eyebrow. And? He's rediscovering himself on a solo trip through Europe. All the photos are just him staring thoughtfully at the horizon. Hannah looked at Gabriel, who was talking with her mom, making her laugh. She looked at the ring on her finger, at the friends around them, at the life she built after everything. Good for him, Hannah said genuinely. I hope he finds what he's looking for. You've gone zen. No. I just realized he doesn't matter anymore. Hannah smiled. He was just the prologue. Gabriel is the real story. Maya wiped her eyes. I'm going to cry again. Please don't. You've already soaked 3 tissues. Gabriel came back, slipped his arm around Hannah's waist. Everything okay? Perfect. Ready for the honeymoon? That depends. Where to? Surprise. Gabriel, do you trust me? Hannah looked at him, at the man who believed in her when no one else did, who fought for her, who saw her. Always. And they walked out together to somewhere dreamy. Because sometimes the best stories begin with desperate lies at a gala event and end with truth. From a desperate lie in a bowl